Hey guys, back again with another video, an impressions video on a recent demo, the Nioh Alpha demo. And this is obviously very early in development. There's going to be quite a few changes, I imagine, before this game actually comes out. And I hope there are plenty of changes made because I gotta say, to be honest, I was not a huge fan of this demo. I started off actually liking it, but the more I played it, and the further into it I got, the less I liked it, and more problems started to crop up. And I've been actually looking forward to this game ever since they showed it at, I think I want to say the first time I saw it was at one of the Tokyo Game Show presentations. And yeah, Team Ninja is working on this, and from the gameplay they showed before the demo came out, I didn't know that this game was going to have a lot of Souls mechanics in it. Like the Souls games seem to be a huge inspiration with this game. And based on the demo, it's kind of like a combination of Ninja Gaiden and a Souls game. Unfortunately, I don't think it plays as well as either of those of those games. Especially since I played Ninja Gaiden for the first time in quite a while, not too long ago. But yeah, let's talk about the demo. It does have some interesting and cool ideas. I gotta say, this is not just a complete rip-off of a Souls game like Lords of the Fallen, where it basically had no original ideas of its own, and it played like shit. This game, let's see what to talk about. I mean, I'm just basically going to be covering like the gameplay. I guess we should kind of talk about what's like the similarities between this and the Souls games. Stamina management is quite important in this game, as with the Souls games. But more important here, where your stamina actually runs out extremely quickly in this game. In the heavy stance, and I'll talk about the stances, you only get a couple attacks before your character runs out of stamina, and when you run out of stamina in this game, you can't do anything. Your character just runs out of breath and just stands there like an idiot. Basically enemies and bosses can attack you, and if that happens, if you run out of stamina and you get attacked, you're basically dead. You're a goner. You're gonna die. And there's a system called the key pulse, and this demo is really bad at explaining things to you. In fact, it doesn't explain shit, really. And if you press R1 at the right time, you'll actually get back a little bit more of your stamina if you've run low, and it will increase, it will like regenerate quicker. So a big part of the combat is kind of pulling off these key pulses to kind of keep your stamina topped up. But I really feel like your actions in this game just take up way too much stamina, and this is I have like a laundry list of problems with this game, and this is just the first of many where like I really feel like the actions should take up less stamina. Like I like that the game has more of a focus on stamina management to kind of set it apart from the Souls games, but it's just kind of irritating. Rolling, for instance, just takes up way too much stamina. A lot of your attacks take up too much stamina, and it's kind of a pain in the ass. Now, your enemies have stamina as well, and they can go into these states where they're basically out of breath. But from what I've noticed, it takes a lot longer for them to run out of stamina. So the enemies are a little annoying in that way. Other similarities: the combat generally has kind of the same feel. But it's a bit more sloppy in this game. The controls are not as responsive or as tight as a Souls game. You've got different weapon types, obviously not as many as in a Souls game, but you've got katanas, axes, spears. You've got some magic, which I didn't actually mess around with too much. But you have skill trees with each of these weapon types, and the builds are basically what kind of weapon you want to go with, because every time you level up, you'll get skill points, and you want to be putting it into a certain tree that you like. And I suppose you could do a hybrid build in this game where you've got different weapon types, but then you wouldn't be putting points into the damage buffs. So I feel like a character, like a jack-of-all-trades type character, would be really weak in this game. So for my character, I focused on katanas, and you have a few different skills, and you have like you can kind of customize your skills and basically set different skills you've unlocked with the skill tree to certain buttons, and you can have different combinations of attacks. And that's one of the things I liked about the game. I liked the skill customization, even though there isn't a whole lot of them for what I've seen. But if you can kind of save up your points from level ups to get some of the more powerful skills. And it's cool to see like the difference in weapon types and the different attacks you can have with the different weapons. So that's a part of the game I do like. Now there's also a stance system, and this is another difference between this and like the Souls series, where you've got a heavy stance, a light stance, and a medium stance, and basically your combos change depending on what stance you've kind of got equipped. And you can hold R1 and press triangle, square, circle, and X to kind of change between your stances. And this, in theory, is cool. The fact that you have all these different stances that could be good for different enemies in different situations. Unfortunately, the power stance, the triangle stance, is way more powerful than the others. And it's pretty much essential for most enemy encounters and most boss fights. Because the other stances, the damage output is so low that it's useless. Like, they're completely useless. So I messed around with them for a bit, but eventually I just went back to the heavy stance because I was actually able to fucking kill enemies with it. The bosses especially, I don't even understand why anyone would bother with the other stances. I mean, the fights would go on for hours. Like, it's now, the low stance can be useful for like these crawling enemies that crawl around on the ground, but other than that, I didn't really find that I found like the balancing was just off between the three stances, because one is just so much better than the others, especially when you get the one combo where if you press square and triangle in a row, you do like this really powerful attack that basically two-shots or one-shots most enemies, especially in the beginning of the alpha. And for the bosses, it does the most significant amount of damage. Unfortunately, your attacks are very slow, like I said before, so they use up so much stamina, and it can be a bit tedious, just having to, only being able to pull off a few different attacks, and then having to wait to get your stamina back. Or, of course, you can time the key pulse attacks, but I don't feel like it actually boosts your stamina by a significant degree. I feel like this key pulse system is this essential component of the game, but I feel like it could be better, honestly. And of course, it could be much better explained, because I think a lot of people even miss that that's a mechanic in this alpha. Basically, you've got these shrines that act as your bonfires, like in the Souls games, and they're kind of your checkpoints. And you can level up at these shrines. You get Amrita, which are basically your currency in this game, your souls that you drop when you die, and you have to go back to the spot where you died to get it back. And if you die on the way, you lose it. You lose your souls for good. You see bloodstains of other players, but instead of seeing how they died, it's basically they're in the spots where they died, but you basically resurrect like these NPC fighters that immediately attack you, and you can get some like weapons and armor from them. So there's that. The game's quite challenging, like the Souls games, though I feel like this game is just really cheap and unfair at a lot of spots, and there's a lot of issues which I'll get to later. This game has like a pretty strong emphasis on loot. And now the Souls games have always had like a bunch of different weapons and armor you can find, but this game is absolutely crazy. And it's essential, because in the beginning of the demo, you're gonna be dying in like one hit, and until you get like some good armor to fully equip your character with, you're gonna die very quickly. So you got to gather all this armor, and eventually you get so much of it that it actually becomes kind of a pain in the ass to look through your inventory constantly, and you're constantly like changing your armor and weapons. Like, so many weapons and armor in this game, and I guess maybe there's so much of it because of the durability system, which this is another thing I hate about this demo. Durability, like, your weapons and armor break so fucking fast in this game. It's ridiculous. You're always having to change your equipment or use whetstones to repair your stuff. I really like this whole mechanic should be just scrapped, in my opinion. In fact, durability mechanics in games are always garbage. Like, I really don't understand why durability is in any game, but it's especially annoying here. So stats, obviously you have a lot of stats. Leveling up works the same as with Souls games, where you put points into your different stats, strength for your strength weapons, dexterity for dexterity weapons, magic, health, stamina. Equip load is a thing in this game as well. Another new thing with this is the Guardian Spirit system, where you basically equip a Guardian Spirit, and it gives you different stat boosts depending on what spirit you've got. And if you press the triangle and circle button, you can do some kind of ability with the Guardian Spirits. I was never able to get it to work. Apparently, you have to have your Amrita gauge filled, and playing this game, I never had it filled, like almost ever. So I didn't actually really get to test that part of the game. The actual level design in this game, I feel, in the beginning it's decent, and you've got some shortcuts like with Dark Souls. You've got like ladders that you can kick down to unlock shortcuts. They're not as smart or as interesting as in the Souls games, and the level design later gets kind of annoying, where there's like this village that's on fire, and there's all these rooftops that you have to travel across, and it's just really annoying because you've got all these enemies shooting arrows at you, and the ranged enemies in this game are so fucking annoying. They like basically have like this auto targeting thing where no matter where you're running or what direction you're running in, the arrows are always going to hit you unless you time your dodge perfectly. And it's a pain in the ass. Like, the ranged enemies in this game are so fucking cheap. It's just oh man, like the level design is just really annoying at times, but it's definitely nowhere near as impressive as in a Souls game. I'm trying to think what else. There's like some usable items that you can get to kind of like buff up your weapons. A lot of different loot to find in the environments. It's the combat has a more slower, deliberate feel than the Souls games. Like I said, with like the stamina management you have to do, but the animations are just feel like really like awkward to me, and the play control in general is just very stiff. It doesn't feel good to play this game. Sometimes you can pull off some satisfying gory kills, but a lot of the times it's just kind of annoying. The lock-on system is really finicky in this game. You'll constantly unlock from enemies at random times, and that will get you killed quite a bit. And it really doesn't work when you're fighting multiple enemies. And this game, I feel like the combat in this game is really designed for one-on-one encounters. And when you fight multiple enemies, it's just a complete mess. Like, it's where the combat system really falls apart, in my opinion. What you're seeing here with the gameplay, too, like, there's this blessing system. You can find these little, like, NPCs that you can bring back to the shrines to give you kind of bonuses. There's kind of been a similar thing in the Souls games. But yeah, there's all these different interesting ideas here, but I don't feel like they really mesh all that well, and the game's just really frustrating to play, especially when you get to the first boss, which is just the first boss in this demo. And this demo is actually quite long. Is so irritating. His attacks are nearly impossible to dodge. You're in this very confined space. The camera always gets caught on parts of the environment. It's nearly impossible to dodge his attacks because the environment is so small, and his attacks cover such a wide area. He's way too aggressive, and like I said before, the stamina management system, the fact that you can only get a couple hits on him before you have to back off, and he can just attack endlessly. And I spent like 30 plus attempts on this guy, on this boss, and I couldn't kill him. I gave up. I couldn't make my way through the demo. It was just like everything just kind of added up, and it was just a frustrating experience for me. Now, I'm still going to keep my eye on this game. I hope they fix some of the things with the game, like some of the control issues. I hope the damage output on enemies and bosses is reduced, and the stamina requirements are reduced as well. They've got some interesting ideas here, and I think if the game needs some work, it needs some work. Hopefully, they're able to kind of get the game in a good state, a good fun state. But as of now, I can't see myself picking it up. But what do you guys think? Definitely give it a try on the PS4. I don't think you have too much longer. I think it's going to be taken off the network soon. But yeah, I guess kind of disappointing considering I was actually really looking forward to this game. But it's not terrible. I don't want to say it's a terrible game. I think there is some fun to be had here. And I actually, even based on the demo, I do like it more than Lords of the Fallen, for instance. But yeah, that's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.